Hello and welcome to Hotel Designs Live with me, Hamish Kilburn, the editor of Hotel Designs. As the leading international hotel design website with what I am proud to say is a flawless reputation when it comes to hosting physical and now virtual events, today is about defining the point on international hotel design, keeping the conversation flowing and reconnecting the industry once more. To do this, we've invited world-renowned designers, architects, hoteliers and developers who will join us in 4 panel discussions to explore thought-provoking and relevant topics. So that you can find your bearings, we're broadcasting this edition of Hotel Designs Live with our fantastic production team, Cube, from a rather cosy nook in a place just outside Whitstable in north-east Kent in England. The sun is just breaking through the clouds and we're right on the coast, which feels calm and really the perfect setting for the panel discussions we have lined up on topics such as lifestyle, bathrooms, art and workspace. In the middle of these sessions, we'll go live to a product watch pitch segment where we'll take a few minutes to look at the latest products and innovations that have launched around the topics that we are discussing. In a few moments' time, we'll be joined by James Dilley, Director of Jestico Whiles, Naomi Heaton, CEO of the Portfolio Club, and David Mason, Head of Hospitality at Scott Brownrigg, to debate a new era of lifestyle. But also coming up, at 11 o'clock, we'll be looking at bathrooms beyond practical spaces with Gabrielle Chaive, Creative Director of Marcel Wonders Studio, Nick Hickson, Partner and Creative Director at THDP, Christos Passas, Director of Zaha Hadid Architects, where we'll be looking at bathrooms beyond practical spaces and beyond the unconventional. Then we'll take a look at art outside the frame at 12:30 with Rob Wageman, founder of Concrete in Amsterdam, Harry Pass, Creative Director of Elegant Clutter, Federico Torrisi, who is the Global Vice President of Design, Luxury and Premium Brands for Accor, and Mel Yates, an Interior Design and Architecture Photography. Then at 2 o'clock, we'll round things off with a session on how workspace trends are impacting hotel design. Joining us for this session, we'll have Megan Day, Partner at HBA San Francisco, Tamara Okello, who's Head of Interior Design at Battersea Power Station, and Colin McGady, the Chief Creative Officer at BDG Architects. And Katie Phillips, our publisher at Hotel Designs, is now sharing the links to all those sessions in the chat. So if you haven't pre-registered, don't worry. And you can keep up to date with all the action on the editorial desk by following us on social media at Hotel Designs, and I'm at Hotel Design Editor. And also, to cut through the noise, you can sign up to receive our weekly newsletters. Link is in the chat that Katie is now sharing. These sessions are designed to be interactive and we would love to hear your thoughts and questions. We have a live chat that runs throughout the sessions, and please do take advantage also of the Q&A function that you'll see at the bottom of the window. Before we delve into our first debate, we wanted to share a little news of our own. The Britlist Awards, which is our annual ceremony that's become a highly anticipated event in the design and hospitality calendar, is back this year and it's bigger than ever. The nationwide search to find Britain's best architects, designers, hoteliers and brands has officially started, with nominations opening yesterday. And here's the best part: to nominate and apply, it is completely free of charge. The campaign to find Britain's best will conclude in the most spectacular of fashion. This year, due to COVID-19 restrictions, we've postponed all of our other networking events until 2022 in order to put all of our assets and attention and drinks vouchers into the Britlist Awards 2021. Which takes place on November the 3rd at Proud Embankment. There are 9 individual awards up for grabs this year, including 2 new categories, and the categories are Interior Designer of the Year, Architect of the Year, Hotelier of the Year, Best in Tech, Best in British Product Design, the Eco Award, the Rising Star Award, which is new, the International Award, which is also new, and the Outstanding Contribution to the Hospitality Industry. Also, as tradition with the Britlist Awards, the top 25 entries in the Interior Design, Architecture and Hospitality categories will be profiled in the Britlist, which is our annual publication that references and celebrates the top 75 influential individuals in hotel design and hospitality. The Britlist Awards, Hotel Designs Live, and I haven't even yet mentioned Design Pod, our new podcast, are all innovative ways for Hotel Designs as a brand to uniquely define the point on international hotel design, architecture, and hospitality. And finally, following today's 4 panel discussions, please save the date of the 10th of August in your diary, as this is when we'll go live with our next edition of Hotel Designs Live. The themes that we're going to be exploring will be surfaces, sleep, senses and social. We've got a little bit carried away in regards to the sibilants, but more details around those events, including our confirmed speakers and how to secure your complimentary seats in the audience, will be available very shortly. The Topics that were chosen were to ensure that we start conversations like no other. And that leads me nicely to introduce our first session of the day of Hotel Designs Live, which I think will set the scene for the rest of the day as we explore a new era of lifestyle. With brands merging into one, boundaries in design and architecture being stretched further than ever before, and modern traveller demands now meaning that experience is key, the lane for lifestyle in hospitality worldwide has widened substantially. But what does that new era look like? And just what are tomorrow's modern traveller demands? Well, joining me live with plenty of solutions are James Dilley, David Mason, and Naomi Heaton. So James, I want to start with you. You have like a wealth of experience when it comes to hotel design. I mean, how many years experience, I don't know. But I wonder, you worked on projects such as W London, Zurich Zanzibar, and you're recently working on, or have just completed, I'm not sure, W Edinburgh. When did the term lifestyle start emerging among modern travellers when it came to their demands?
I think it's all bound up with this concept of experience. It's when people were, when the hospitality providers, the hosts were trying to look beyond simply beds and showers. I mean, those things have got to where they're given, but it was the opportunity for choice and opportunity to live a different way. They were offering things which weren't physical, different kinds of concierge services, ways of getting people embedded in their location. Authentic experiences, things that wouldn't otherwise be even visible to guests. Not only were they made visible, identified by the hosts, they were made accessible in a very meaningful way. And it meant that, one of the earliest things I learned in this business 25 years ago was, I said to the hotelier, so we're going to make this a home from home. He said, it's got to be better than someone's home. It's got to be better than that. Otherwise, they ain't going to come here. And these are all the things that layer the experience, things that people didn't realize that they wanted or needed or would find exciting. We're hunters and collectors of experience now. We stick them in our pockets, stick them in our Instagram, and it becomes the thrill of discovery, memorable experiences, all of those kind of things. So almost interchangeable with experience, I would say, but the things that you wouldn't get if you weren't using these amazing facilities.
And David, just before the pandemic hit, I feel as if we were entering a really exciting era of lifestyle. Can you sort of just explain what that was like, and the conversations you were having then with developers to create these lifestyle spaces?
I think pre-pandemic we were looking at urban resorts, this sort of activation of city centres, all about creating sort of budget destinations, but it meant you could stay in the heart of the city. It was all about this huge, exciting, experiential. You became part of the experience. And lots of the hotels we were working with, they were at making you part of the experience. You were joining their community. You were being placed in this hotel, and then you were being shown. You became one with the community, and you could share the experience of locals, you could share the excitement of the area, and you became part of the story, really. You lived that experience while you were staying in that hotel.
I'm hearing the word experience a lot, and I just wonder from your perspective, Naomi, from a developer's perspective, you're most known for the Harrington Hall Hotel in Kensington, but I'm aware that you're just about to open a new hotel in Covent Garden. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and how what role experience will play?
Well, you're right. Our first acquisition was the Harrington Hall in South Kensington, which was at the end of 2019. And then we have acquired since then one of the most stunning sites, I think, in central London, which is the Wellington Dock in Covent Garden, which is a series of beautifully different architectural buildings which will all be combined into one. And both those assets are part of a brand that we want to roll out both in other destinations in prime central London before we go out internationally and probably to New York. And of course, experience is a really, really important element of it. And what we were really seeking to do was to disrupt the hospitality sector as we saw it. We're the new kids on the block. We actually came from the private rented sector, so we came very much from the residential side. And what we see is a convergence between the traditional hotel offering, the serviced apartment offering, and the long stay residential. At the one end of the spectrum, you've got a real sense of place making, a sense of home. And at the other end, at the hotel spectrum, you've got your hotel style services, but not necessarily much of a sense of place. And what we wanted to do was to bring them all together to have this placemaking, this sense of experience within your environment, but combining with on-demand hotel services to pick and choose and to create a completely new category in the market. And what we wanted was that our guests felt like residents. And I think I've been hearing that already from James and David, that people want to feel that they're part of the community. They want to feel that they're local, that they're not just tourists or travelers, but they're in the know. They know what's happening. They want to know what's happening. And therefore, we not only wanted to disrupt these three sectors to create an offering where you could stay for a day, a week, a month, or a year, but that to create spaces which are really relevant to being a resident. So not only having spaces which are purely for the guests, purely for the residents, quite separate from public destination areas, which are exciting, but also to create accommodation, bedroom accommodation, which was really a home, a micro apartment, a club flat. And we've created a new sector called residence clubs, because we want people to feel that they're living like a resident, that they're part of a club of like-minded people. And what we want to feel is it is their second home, but with wonderful experiences and wonderful interaction with the locality. And we want it to be their other house. And that has led to the name of our new brand, which is The Other House. That is where people will be coming to stay, whether it's the other house in South Kensington or the other house in Covent Garden or in Manhattan. But it's the other house. It is your other home. It's where you can go and feel like a resident for as long as you're in town. And that really, I hope, starts to encapsulate all the trends that we've seen within the marketplace over the last few years. And it's been 7 years in the making. And one of the most important aspects is, of course, technology, which I know we will come on to. But this is all under technology. The fact that people can control their stay via an app and only interact with the staff, with the hotel, when they want to. And the rest of the time, they're in control. And those are all really important aspects, I think, of the new era of lifestyle that we're going to be seeing coming in over the next few years.
Absolutely. And Naomi, can you just so the whole, you say 7 years in planning. So I really just want to get a point across, the fact that this brand hasn't just launched because of the pandemic or as a result of the pandemic, but very much launched, it was going to happen anyway. And I just want to make that point because I feel as if a lot of people in this industry are looking at ways to disrupt the industry because of COVID or use it as a bit of a catalyst. But there's a big argument out there to suggest that do what you were doing before because hospitality was working very well before.
You are so right. We started working on this 7 years ago, and the whole idea of having this technology platform where people could book, check in, enter their room, order their food, order their services, and just use it via an app was really ahead of its time. Ironically, we launched 2 years ago. It might have been too techy, but of course, what the pandemic has done is to make people much more aware of doing things in a socially distant kind of way. Tech has become part of the way that you live in a hotel or the way that you live in any which way. And we've been creating an app which takes you right through everything. It's a major operation. And it's difficult for hotel staff to retrofit that, or they may be able to do bits and pieces. But because we've had this kind of long run in, we are creating this app, which I feel is a child of its times, but that time has been brought forward by the fact that we've had the pandemic.
Do you feel like you've been promoted now that you're CEO of the other house and not the portfolio club? Do you feel like you've been promoted?
We've had the most fantastic support, I must say, from our architects, FCH, from our wonderful interior designers, Bergman, who won the Brit List in 2020, and also our fantastic branding agency, Design Studio. And we have been on such a journey to really identify who our target audience is, what their aspirations are, what their lifestyle is, and also to generate and create an app, which I think is going to be so exciting. And it is wonderful that at long last we've been able to make public the other house, which we feel just is so apposite to what we're doing. And we've had to really hold on, and we wanted to bring it in before our conversation with you today as a fantastic platform to tell so many people in the industry about what we're doing.
Brilliant. And we'll be sharing that news story a little bit later on today when I get a few moments to myself. James and David, I'm just wondering from an interior design perspective, if the focus on a hotel stay is mainly around, experience, but also the facilities really, like the bed is a very integral part of a hotel, obviously. Why, therefore, is branding so important for new brands emerging?
David, do you want to
go? Sorry, what was the question again?
So I'm just wondering, I want to know from a designer's perspective why branding is so important, and if there are any sort of creative ways that you're seeing that companies are branding themselves in innovative ways.
I think it's all about, technology made the world a smaller place, and brands are now leaning towards, whilst we've been at home, social media platforms, they've been creating and reconnecting with their guests, even though we're not even able to go there. So it's about personalized sort of introductions. Your emails are personalized. You're again invited in to be part of this community. They've kept you updated on what they've been doing, and they've been telling you and updating you on what's been going on in their hotel and the moves forward that they're making to get us back into these spaces as well.
And James, in regards to the hotel that you're working on at the moment, W Edinburgh, how is that setting itself aside from other Ws?
Well, that one is, it's about the genius loci. It's what lives in that. What's the spirit of the place? And Edinburgh is incredibly rich in history, culture, heritage in many, many ways. But I think the snapshot of where they are now is a city that grows extraordinarily during the festivals, and they've got a number of festivals there apart from the Fringe, which is the most famous. And it's a city where a population grows from 450,000 to 4.5 million through August. Now, how do you respond to that? How do people want to live when they're there for the festival? They might be spending a few hours in their room in the bed at night. How do we actually connect and reflect that festival spirit? Well, first of all, it's done in a very abstract way in the architecture. But then the building itself at the macro level is permeable. It's an extension of the city. There's effectively no real boundaries. People can take a journey through the city, through the town square that we've created that will be part of the Fringe Festival venues. It will be one there which the three buildings that make up the hotel focus upon. You can come in through the front door and take a journey up through the building where you pop out on 3 levels of terraces with amazing restaurants and bars, a roof terrace with fire pits and an outdoor bar, where you can actually see the city in 360-degree panoramic, and you can see the festivals happening, you can see the lights shining into the sky, you can see the fireworks on Hogmanay and through the tattoo, and then you can come back down through the building again into the square and permeate out into the city. It's simply another square and set of squares, okay, they're elevated, which are permeable and continuous. And W has a nice concept of the takeover, where the hotel will be taken over by an event, and people will be able to move between 3 public levels. We have a sound suite, which is a recording studio, which is not just for recording, it's for broadcasting, it's for parties, it's for actually making live music, which is then sent out into the city in the square below. It's very much an extension of the city physically and culturally. And so if you come back to the micro level, the bedrooms are designed with a great bed, but they're actually designed as party rooms. You can have 6 or 8 people there for pre-drinks before the festival, before an event, very easily. There's a cocktail bar centerpiece. The seating's arranged so that you can have those people there. Each one's got its own balcony, and it's your first stop before you go out into the city. And it's not just for the festivals. There's certain weeks of the year when there's no festivals there, not many now in Edinburgh. And when it recovers, I think this will be seen it will be self-perpetuating. There's other hotels coming apart from the W, but I think that's the point. It's not a sealed experience. It's continuous with the city culturally and physically and geographically and all of those things. And it actually contributes to that because it creates new venues and it unlocks views and connectivity, where you can experience the city in a whole different way.
There seems to be, to me, there's like two lanes happening in lifestyle, one of which being as accessible as possible, opening up the hotel to the local community. And then there's like the other lane that's happening that really sort of leans towards private members clubs. And, you know, this there's definitely a synergy between lifestyle and private members club. And I wonder, Naomi, if you can maybe explain why that is and where you think that's going to go from here.
Yeah, so I'll answer that, Hamish, although you went silent for a little while, but I think I got the main.
Sorry. Do you want me to
Don't
just
worry,
repeat the question?
I think the question was really whether there was a kind of synergy between these lifestyle hotels and private members clubs. And yes, I would absolutely have to say, yes, there is. We have coined a new sector in the market, residence clubs. We thought very hard about how we wanted to explain our offering, but we wanted people to feel like a resident, whether they're with us for a day, a week, a month, or a year. But we also felt we had a community of like-minded people, the kind of people that wanted experience, who wanted style, who want to make a social impact, a positive social impact, but also want a sense of place. And we see very like-minded, aspirational, smart people who are looking for something which has got great design, but not at a hefty price tag. And therefore, we wanted to call them residence clubs. And clearly, a club is a community of people who have like-minded attitudes and aspirations. And to that extent, it is like a private members club, and hence the word club. But the only fundamental difference is, of course, a private members club tends to have selective criteria. There are ways, there are ways in which you have to join that club. Whereas for us, you are a member of our club if you're a resident. So if you're staying at the other house, you're a member of our club. And in that way, it is much more inclusive rather than exclusive, which I feel is much more in tune with today's living and lifestyle and mental attitudes. So yes, of course, if you have communities of like-minded people, you have a club. And indeed, how we want to communicate that is not only through the way that we construct and build our asset. And so within the other house, there'll be areas which are specifically just for our residents, so they can have their favorite chair, they can have a quiet drink of whiskey with a colleague, which are quite separate from the really exciting destination areas we're going to be. So they will have their own private spaces, as well as their wonderful club flats where they can really get a sense of place. But it will be open to anyone that's staying. And we will also communicate that not only, and I know we're going to talk about social media, it's not just the asset and how it looks and how it feels. It's all the information that you communicate, all the experiences, the stories, the things about the locality, so that you actually can create a club over and above the sense of being in that residence. And that will be really, really important as well. So yes, there is a great synergy, but for us, our club is open to everyone who chooses to stay at the other house.
I'm hoping that you can hear me now, but what I was saying was that that's exactly the question that I was asking. But I was mentioning that it's interesting to me. There seems to be two lanes. One lane in lifestyle, which very much looks at welcoming the local community in and being as accessible as possible, I guess, to sort of open doors. And then there's this other lane that's more steered towards like the private members club. And what I find interesting with your brands, the other house, is that you're kind of merging those lanes together. And it's I think it's a nice way to look forward in lifestyle and where we're heading, and that convergence with luxury as well. So we're going to go live to our product watch pitch in a few moments time. But before we do so, I've got one more question, and that kind of goes on from what I was just saying. The conversations that I've had recently, specifically with you, James, the human touch, it seems, will not be lost in luxury, I'm told. But where is technology's place in lifestyle? And do we run the risk of losing the human touch in the lifestyle sector?
For me, service was, again, I'm going back to the Victorian days when I first started doing this, 1890. Service, for me, being old school, is something that happens to you without you realizing. And for me, technology fits into that. It's not something you should be looking for. It's something that's there that makes things happen. It's got to be intuitive. You know, sometimes people get technology wrong and it just adds stress instead of taking it away. And I think we need to just be a little bit careful that we don't over bombard people with technical requirements or opportunities, because in the end, one of the things a hotel has to be is a refuge, a sanctuary. And we live our world at the moment bombarded by connectivity, technical requirements, and I think that there should be a stepping down in that in hotels. It should be done so seamlessly and quietly that it removes the stress and it lets you exhale, and it's there for you if you want to. So that will be the balance. I think we've got so much advancement and so many big steps have been made in the last 12 months on technology. We just need to look at it. It's a means to an end, not an end. The tail must not wag the dog. And you know, I've said to you many times that for me, one of the marks of luxury is the human contact, the right person, the person that can do exactly what technology is doing now. They used to do it 100 years ago. You know, the well-trained concierge or host would recognize regular guests, and even guests who hadn't been there before. They'd stick the photograph up in the staff room, and people were trained to recognize them and greet them and know something about that person. Now it's done with every staff member is issued with a phone with a photograph of the VIPs and the guests, so that they can greet people in the corridor, everybody from the housekeepers onwards. And we need to make sure, you know, knowing that someone's just checked the phone before they say, you know, hello, Mr. Kilburn, is not quite the same as that seamless greeting as you come to the front desk, and people have done it without looking at their phone. So there's a balance.
Technology, I think it'd be quite funny if hotels do look at images, they'll have to look at images pre and post lockdown, because I'm sure certain things have changed.
Pre and post Photoshop image.
Hamish, if I could just add to that, then I absolutely agree with everything that's been said. I think that the human touch will have to become more nuanced, in the sense that tech will take away a lot of the very mundane interactions, whether it be checking in or getting into your room or ordering your menu or whatever. And that means that a lot of the formulaic interactions will disappear, and that staff will have to be more nuanced, more trained, more sensitive in the way that they interact. So the human touch will be absolutely fundamental. Absolutely, it's synonymous with a great experience. But I think it will morph into something slightly different, and to a higher level, in fact, to a better level of human connection than the often very formulaic, starchy kind of interactions you have in a traditional luxury hotel. So it will change, but it will remain absolutely vital.
And David, just so that we can attach this to case studies, you worked on the Hard Rock Hotel London, and then recently you're working on another lifestyle brand in East London. What were the differences there in regards to technology that got injected in the design and the conversations you had with clients? Because they're two separate brands.
Yeah, I think Hard Rock Hotel was all about the energy and the excitement and nostalgia and history of music and the passion of music. And that's fundamentally learned throughout everybody who works there as well. They all live, breathe, experience and love this brand so much. Like when we were training there, there was one of the original waitresses still goes to each launch opening event and meets all the people that work there and talks about.
That's a cushy job.
I know, right? Amazing. She comes in her first uniform as well. She looks fantastic. And but technology, of course, for Hard Rock was key as well. The central bar has a coded lighting system that emanates and pulses the energy of the music. There's touch-free technology to get you through to your room, to control all of that. And then for the East London hotel, while some brands are look to use technology seamlessly, there's a recognize that we still need a choice. Some people are still want the sort of old-fashioned connection points, and so it's given the option of doing both. Really, I think is kind of where we need to go. So technology is becoming much more seamless, but we still need a connection with our hosts and a choice, really. So if we can have all singing, all dancing technology, but we still need it to be intuitive and natural for us to use, rather than a zillion buttons trying to turn. that
Of course, yeah. We all hate a million buttons when we check in. I was being very diplomatic then. I wasn't sure whether we were allowed to announce which brand it was.
No, not yet. Hold this space.
Okay, so we're going to go live to our product watch pitch now. So we're going to hear from brands such as Hamilton Lightstart, Mosaico, Betty, Atlas Concord and Hansgrohe. And then we'll join our speakers back here in just a few moments' time. So we're going to start with Hamilton Lightstart. Hamilton Lightstart. So Gavin Williams from Hamilton Lightstart is in the audience, and I believe he'll be on the chat as well. So if you want any more information, I'm sure Gavin will share his contact details there. Next up, we have Mosaico and we have Shelley. Hi, Shelley.
Hi there. Hi. Can you see me yet?
Yeah, and your 2 minutes starts now, Shelley.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Great to see you today. I'm a specification manager for Mosaico Plus. We're Italian-based and part of the MAPE group. We've undergone a significant rebranding exercise over the last 3 years, moving from a traditional mosaic business to one creating quite unique surfaces whilst maintaining the concept of mosaic. We are experienced in specification, but we're evolving our offer to sit more strongly in A&D. So what do we actually do? From Mosaico, I'm sure what you imagine is glass in various sizes, known to be used in pools and spas, etc. The Plus represents our new direction and original niche contemporary collections. We offer a bespoke design service. For example, some of you may have seen our Union Jack shower cubicle on LinkedIn, but we can master any image, decoration, signage, or special aspect of a scheme. We can handcraft, employing artisanal techniques, cutting individual pieces to construct any given design. Then our recent standalone additions are where we diversify, having collaborated with key designers to inspire individual themes, giving the portfolio a more broad appeal. So we can do soft, subtle and sophisticated, urban, quirky, whatever feeling you're looking to conjure, we will have something that fits in, enhances or accentuates, or we can make it happen. It's an exciting time to see the innovation and new way forward in progress. We can cover all bases, pun intended, for regular to anything more decorative or artistic. Thanks so much, and enjoy the rest of this session and the day's event. I'll share my contact details on the chat feature.
Brilliant. Thank you So much, Shelley, and
Thank
as
you.
she's just mentioned, you'll be available on the chat as well. And I think surfaces are really interesting at the moment with everything that's going on with the pandemic. There's a lot of emphasis on surfaces being, these really sort of sterile spaces. And I think now we need to look at surface designers to look at how to inject personality through surfaces. So Mosaico is a fantastic way of doing that, obviously. Next up, we have a video from Betty.
Our new anti-slip surface is almost invisible, and the effect is only noticeable during use. Better anti-slip sense reacts to you and the water. So here you see a better floor side, inclined, treated half side with the better glaze, on the left side with our new magic better anti-slip sense. I will now apply some water on it. So this is on the better glaze. I will put a glass on it. And you see it slips down. Let's go to the next side. This part is treated with a better anti-slip sense. We do the same. Take the glass. And as you can see, this is magic. Another advantage is that we have reached for the first time evaluation group C according to the DIN norm. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the world's first shower tile. A pure design which offers a great freedom for creation. Only stands out if you wanted to, thanks to our 32 colors.
Here we see the drain. We enlarged it from 90 to 200 millimeter. Here's a very, very filigree gap between. The cover is a glazed steel cover in material thickness only. It sits flush to the tile, so you can't feel it while taking a shower. But the highlight is the very slim rim. This is the Better Air, with a minimum rim height of only 10 millimeter. It is flat like a tile, with all benefits of a tile, but without any drawbacks of the tile.
And that was a video from Betty. And we have Jacob Allen in the audience, who will also be on the chat as well. So if you want any more information about Betty and all of their other products as well, you can do so. Next up, we have Atlas Concord. Francesco, are you there?
Hello, Hamish. How are you?
Brilliant. Yes, all good. Thank you, Francesco. Your 2 minutes starts now.
Thank you. With 3D wall carve, Atlas Concord celebrates a new way of interpreting ceramic reliefs. So next slide, please, Hamish. A range of surfaces with soft tones are characterized by refined minimal microtextures. The natural irregularity of the three-dimensional reliefs lends itself to evocative light effects, creating a simple yet sophisticated visual impact. Next slide, please, Hamish. The collection consists of 5 different three-dimensional textures obtained by digitalizing the engraving of a hand-carved plaster cast. The 3 colors with white, ivory, and pearl stand out for their soft tone and minimalist style, which combined with the dynamism of the decor help make 3D wall carve a furnishing itself. So there are 3 original textures which are developed and are the 3D chisel, the 3D whittle, and the 3D leaf. Next slide, please. To complete the 3D wall carve range, Atlas Concord renewed its partnership with Piero Lissoni. Inspired by suggestions of manual craftsmanship, the Italian designer developed 2 capsule products that further enrich the collection's design potential. The irregular surface of 3D sign conveys the visual vibrations of a textile material, while 3D squares reworks the lines of the most precious mosaics in a full field decorative element. Next slide, please, Hamish. So I just want to say thank you for inviting me, and I'll be in the chat if you need anything else.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Francesco. And finally, but by no means least, we have Katie Weston from Hansgrohe. Katie, over to you.
Welcome to Axel 1, designed by British designer duo Barberoscopy, capturing the essence of compact luxury showcased here as a contemporary industrial bathroom. exposed steel and brick complementing our new matte black finish beautifully. A new range of 30 products and 15 finishes, the Axel One thermostatic valve now has a family. Here is our modern simplistic Copenhagen family home, shown in brushed nickel. The 3-hole basin mixer using our existing Select technology with separate on and off and flow control. The new 280mm 2-jet shower head offering rain and powder rain spray types. The directional sports head, ideal for hotel spas. The sleek, archetype, elegant bath spout, which leads us to our international elegance concept, shown here in stunning polished gold optic. The 1-jet handset, and at the wash basin, our 1-hole single lever mixer with precise and intuitive action, delivering a flow of water from our unique cool start function with a signature 600mm ceiling shower head that is Axel One. Which leads me on to the next slide. Hansgrohe's new range called Pulsify, a unique relaxation experience available in matte white, matte black and chrome. An exposed shower unit with integrated shelving, our new handset with 2 or 3 spray modes, powder rain, intense rain and massage. The fixed for sports head, a particular hotel highlight, eco-smart variants offering 60% less water, timeless and functional, practical and durable. Next one. And finally, a range of Hansgrohe accessories in our Finish Plus colours, complementing our portfolio with its simplistic, clean lines with a total of 24 new products. There is something to suit all. Thank you for your time today, everybody. I will be in the chat.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Katie. And that's just one example of bathrooms becoming more than just practical spaces, which is the title of our next session, which will start at 11 o'clock. But now we're going to go back to our panel discussion with our speakers, James, David and Naomi. Can you please come back into the conversation? And I want to just break things down a little bit because we've had an audience question and it's really directed towards you, Naomi. Do you think post-pandemic there'll be just as many foreign travellers in London as there were before? And do you think the journey of people's stays will change? Do you think people will stay for longer or for less time?
My personal feeling is it's obviously going to take time for the market to come back to where it was pre-pandemic. I think that the domestic market will come back first. And with the international market, I suspect it will be the leisure traveller coming before, and probably in big numbers because we all want to go and enjoy foreign experiences. With the corporate traveller probably taking longer because they will be governed by certain corporate guidelines about safety, etc. I also absolutely agree with you that we will see a growth in slow travel, that particularly for the corporate traveller, there'll be consolidation of trips. So rather than very frequent trips, they will be longer and include more business items than they would otherwise. So there'll be longer trips. And I also think that there will be more of a combination, particularly with our change to our work-life balance and working from home and all of that kind of thing, that there'll be a combination of leisure and business when people come to stay. So I really see an era of slow travel coming in, but I also see an increased awareness of sustainability, of positive social impact, of how hotels really are contributing to that, not in lip service, but in reality, in terms of everything that they do. And eating better foods, locally sourced produce, all of those things will be really, really important. But I see the market will come back. It will take time to come back, but that we may see people staying for longer than they did before, which of course for our model, again, we're in the right place at the right time because we're there for as long as people want to stay. So I do see a change. I do see it coming back. I don't see it coming back immediately at the beginning of next year. But
and there are a lot of negatives with the pandemic, with COVID, obviously the short-term impacts on hospitality. But I also think there's a few pros that we can take away, certainly in regards to a lot of lifestyle brands trying to capture the local community in order to then capture wider audiences. It's the perfect time to capture your local audience, is it not, David?
Yes, I think Sorry, yes.
Don't worry,
continue.
No,
Sorry,
you
David,
carry on.
I missed the word David. David.
No, so Scott Brownrigg, you're absolutely right. We're working on the Barony at the moment in Scotland, and this is a reactivation of an existing coal mine that's now defunct. It's a 44-acre hectare site, so we're revitalising really community spaces and bringing energy and employment back into this town. So we're recreating a sort of dispersed hotel, which gives you these options of 344 sort of villas or tree houses or little geodomes. But then there's also this thing so you can escape and be alone. But then there's also all the hotel functions as well, so that you can so go and be with people as well. So it's this choice and reactivating, sort of the community, even if it's an escape rather than an urban resort in the centre of London.
And obviously, we see that hotel groups are launching new brands daily, and there's a lot of merging going on as well. But that does sort of come with a few casualties in regards to distressed assets and independent hotels. James, I'm wondering from your perspective, because how you've seen the market change over time, do you think this is the decline of independent hotels?
Not at all. I mean, one of the exciting things we've seen are emerging in the last couple of years, and it's been accelerated by events, is the so-called hybrid hotels, where the bed to sleep in is either just part of the offer or incidental. We've been working on a project recently which accommodates a cinema, for example. We're looking at something else in Austria, which has a live broadcast radio station as the main event, and then the hotel bar is around that. And we've got another project in Nottingham, which is the hotels there are one of 5 or 6 different uses. So at the ultimate level, you get into not necessarily hotel-led schemes, but hotels play a major part in the blended uses. And actually, this one we're calling a hyper mixed use because there's so much going on. But each one of those uses has been curated so that they come together at a forum, at a ground floor level, which incorporates everything from co-working. We've got co-living, we've got build to rent, we've got hotels. We've got the suite hotel, and then we've got various other things that will be coming later on. But there is no red line between the uses which says hotel stops here and the marketplace starts there, or the co-working starts there. There is an element which has got everything happening in it. And in theory, we should get people from outside Nottingham in UK, from overseas, and people from Nottingham all mixing and sitting together in this place 24 hours, and it should create a very vital and unusual experience. And I think that this is the next move, where hotels don't stand alone; they become very permeable and blended.
And you mentioned, obviously, with that hybrid model, there's a space for workspace in that, and there's a lot of conversation around that topic. We're going to be putting it under the spotlight a little bit later on today. I've recently received a press release today which has some rather interesting stats, but the one I want to highlight is that 27% of Brits said that they would continue to work full-time in an office. That's only 27%. Does hospitality therefore have a new opportunity to open itself up to be co-working spaces? Will that take away the experience of public spaces being normally around the F&B facilities? What do we think about that?
We shouldn't use hospitality to mean hotels anymore. And hospitality is the word that's spread out and can, it's about welcoming and bringing people in and making people feel comfortable. And that hospitality covers many areas that used to be called separate uses. And you'll probably be aware that the use classes in the UK changed recently to accommodate that partly, but they're a million miles away from actually giving us the opportunity to make a planning application for these hybrid spaces, because the labels you have to pin onto them are still dating back to the 1950s. Right. I think it's not about saying that's the workspace, that's the hotel space, that's the coffee bar. It's about the spirit of the place, and at the moment working title at the moment is evolving, but if we can tick 3 boxes, community, collaboration, and conviviality, it basically captures all the things that hotels used to do and that people now require from co-working and co-living. So in the build to rent, there'll be people coming down from their apartments upstairs. They can get a meal and take it back up to their apartment and have it, or they can sit with people who are from overseas or from elsewhere in Nottingham, or people having a party, and it begins to mix and break down the barriers. For me, the ultimate step would be the check-in box. You get a 50% discount on whatever you buy if you put your mobile phone into a locked box and don't pick it up till you leave. Then we get conviviality and collaboration and community, and that connectivity. As people say, we're so connected, we're disconnected. If you can take the mobile phones away from people, you'll get a really great atmosphere and people mixing properly.
Yeah, I saw a fantastic model a few years ago where your hotel room rate was based on how much you used your social media. I'm not sure how it tapped into it, but if you weren't using your phone that much, then your hotel rate would come right down. And that very much was to encourage people to mingle and to socialize.
There's some hotels that use the reverse metric.
Yeah. I'm sure my publisher would love that if I go and review a hotel and I'm just not available. Completely disconnect from the world. Hi, Katie, who's in the audience. We talk about hospitality evolving, but also luxury is evolving hugely as well, along the lines with lifestyle as well. So where does the line between the two, where is that line? Help me out. David, maybe you can help us.
Wow. I think, luxury is different to different people. What is one man's luxury is somebody else's, normality. So I think it's just about aspiration and where you want to be and enveloping yourself in this lifestyle and this experience that makes you feel the person you want to be. And, we are social beings and we want to be part of a community, part of a club, and I think you seek out that club, and then you surround yourself with minded individuals that you want to spend your time with, and then you become almost a brand advocate of that, and you're reintroduced to another level of luxury and lifestyle, depending on the experience and where you are. So, I think it's a very different thing to different people.
And I was speaking to a designer the other day who's very well known for working and operating in the luxury space, and they said something really interesting. They said they never get a brief that specify they want a luxury hotel. It's something that emerges along with the brand, along with the narrative. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. I think obviously there are brands that do set themselves as this luxury experience, and I think and that is something that we need. But I think everything's changing and everything's morphing, and I think luxury now can be in the middle of nowhere in a tent because you're away from it's just very different things to
yeah. And the more I think about it, I feel sorry for Katie because she can't actually answer me back right now. But, I think actually Katie's luxury would be my phone being locked up and me not emailing her, not the other way around.
Hamish, just to go back in time a bit. I mean, when I first started doing this job, you had the luxury qualification was based on such things as having a stool in the bathroom that you could sit on as you did your makeup. I mean, it was nonsense. These things went back 100 years, and in the last 10 years, we've come a long way from that, where people are giving you a badge of 5 stars or luxury based on these tick boxes. And as David says, you can be in a safari tent in the middle of nowhere with very few facilities, and it's still luxury. It's about care.
Yeah, and I think also the industry working as well, it's a lot more collaborative now. And whether it's luxury or lifestyle we're putting under the spotlight, we can all evolve what those meanings are together. And hopefully, obviously, in the process, create some amazing spaces. I'm interested because a lot of brands are now, interestingly, really narrowing down their target demographic to a very, very specific audience. Does that limit the creative input that you can put in as designers to a project? Or is there more scope for that to go wrong if it's very targeted towards one audience?
Shall I go for that one briefly, quickly?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, go for it.
I actually don't agree with that. I mean, we're at a moment where the demographics are getting blended. You know, there's more people in work in this country in their 70s than there's ever been. There's people spending their money in different ways. There's younger people wanting to travel more to more adventurous locations, and the transgenerational experience is extremely important. You know, we're looking at a concept at the moment for transgenerational learning, where the whole point is that a 10-year-old helps a 90-year-old to use his iPad, and the 90-year-old helps the 10-year-old to fix their bike, and it's mixing in that way, you know, rather than the community and collaboration I was talking about earlier being from people from different locations or different countries. It's also blending and mixing across the demographic, and some of the best hotels are those where you can have an 18-year-old sitting having a conversation with an 80-year-old in the bar.
Yeah,
I would also, sorry.
You go.
Go for it, Naomi.
Go for it.
I would add, though, that if you do understand who your target market is, and that may not be an age-related target market, but you understand what their needs are, what their aspirations are, and what their requirements are, and you have a really clear vision of that, then, of course, developing the design can in many ways be simpler and more straightforward, because everything you're designing, both in terms of the architecture, the interior design, and also the messaging, is all around that audience that you want to communicate with. And certainly my background was in advertising as a director of Saatchi & Saatchi, and we were always looking for the unique selling proposition, the thing that made us stand out, which was relevant to our audience, but also made us stand out. And I think that if you do understand who you're talking to, that can actually help refine and give you a clearer set of design directions to execute.
We've just had a question that I think is rather interesting, and I think it relates to what you're saying, Naomi. So the question is, and it's being held up on a screen in front of me, how does the traditional wellness offer, we haven't actually spoken about wellness too much in all of this, but how does that damage post-pandemic in hospitality? Checking into a spa, for example, in the previous sessions we've had, I think we've come to the conclusion that wellness will be injected in other areas of the hotel. So there'll be more focus of wellness in the bathroom. And I know that we've spoken a lot about public spaces in regards to lifestyle, which is very important. But where does lifestyle creep into this and creep into the design narrative and also the branding narrative that you're talking about as well, Naomi?
Well, from our point of view, health and well-being comes across in all sorts of different ways. Clearly, there is a kind of traditional element of having a spa, and we will be providing for our residents a spa area, fantastically well equipped and well designed, well thought out gym area. In fact, we're going to have a completely audio sensory room. This has been something that I've really batted for, where you can kind of go into a room and have a wonderful audio visual experience to really zone out. And I got batted away for a long time, but has now come back. So you have that more conventional offering, but also you're talking about biophilia, you're talking about air quality, actually you're talking about other things which are linked to sustainability element, monitoring energy use, informing people about how much energy they are using versus what we should be using to be a good neighbor on this planet. So actually it embraces an awful lot more. Of course, sleep is really important, and looking at how we can help people have a better night's sleep. So in reality, it permeates right through the offering rather than being just limited to the kind of very specific and probably traditional offerings of just fitness. It very much is now fitness and well-being.
And I don't know if you, and David or James, I don't know if you wanted to add to that in regards to like the traditional wellness offering. Does that have its place in post-pandemic?
It sure does, and I mean, I think it's a self-perpetuating cycle. We've been working on a project and a couple of other things. Something finished in Zanzibar recently, where the spa offer is all bound up in the spirit of place. So Zanzibar was one of the spice islands, and the Spice Garden was actually started there a couple of years before the hotel opened. So it's mature when it's opened, and that becomes a central part of the hotel. It's something that you can walk around and appreciate and smell. You can see the local gardeners tending it. There's various training programs there. You can go and choose and pick your own spices for your spa treatments later on. You can choose and pick your spices for your food that'll be prepared for you, or you can prepare it yourself. And that goes on to, you know, a whole different sort of set of community inclusivity programs. You know, people are asked not to think about tipping as a first priority, but they are asked if they want to bring things to that location, you know, bring things which are useful to give to the community groups, whether it's an old laptop or pens or exercise books, and this becomes, it's experiential. People are prepared to pay more for it in a cynical way because it makes them feel better, but it's feeding the spirit. And for me, that's the fundamental of wellness, that concept of sanctuary and playground combined. It's respite, and you're doing good at the same time. It's good for them and it's good for you. It's win-win.
And David, I mean, we're about to wrap up here. We've got a couple of minutes left, but just before I ask my final questions, just wanted to let you know that our next session is at 11 o'clock, and that is entitled Bathrooms Beyond Practical Spaces. It very much looks at that wellness argument and the debate, and we're joined by leading designers who will be joining us for that. Katie Phillips, our publisher, is now sharing the link to that session, because this session will obviously expire in a few moments' time. There, you just need to click onto that link and then you'll automatically be registered once you fill out your details. But we're very much going to be continuing the conversation about lifestyle in that session, but very much focused on the bathrooms. So to wrap up, really, my question that I want to know is, what would you say are the most common demands among modern travellers today in 2021 as they look towards travelling again? David, perhaps you can kickstart this. Or anyone?
And, oh, sorry.
Oh, hi, David. Sorry, it was my fault. I couldn't hear you.
Oh, okay, sorry. For me, the consumers inform more than any before, and what they want is authenticity, experience, safety. They want a price point that they're happy with, but also they want to know how brands have treated their own employees. They want to see the very bones of all of these organizations and understand that what they're selling is actually what they believe in, and then travel will align themselves to that belief as well. So I think it's transparency, really, and just understanding and wanting to be part of a brand that's, you know, sustainable, authentic, and take care of its people.
And James, as well as the modern traveller demands, what are the client demands now on the projects that you're working on, the conversations you're having now that will lead to projects? What are the conversations you're having now that clients really want to know?
People have,
on the spot, apologies.
People have a lot of choice, and you know, how do people choose where they're going? They choose from word of mouth, they choose from their friends' Instagram pages. Sometimes they choose from the thumbnails on the website, and it's about that point of difference. People don't want the mundane, they don't want the predictable, they don't want something which isn't going to surprise them or even challenge them. So it's those things which are about thoughtfulness. It's not trinkets for the sake of it, throwing things in. It's things that mean something to people, which makes their experience better and feeds their spirits, so they come out of that hotel lighter of foot and feeling better about themselves and better about the world. So the bar is high. The bar is high. We do a lot of work with these hotels, but it's, you know, it's about, exactly as David said, it's about provenance, you know, where things come from, authenticity. People are very interested in that. Theatre is a component that people are looking for, you know, whether it's in the bar or the roof terrace or the wellness. And in the end, it will come back to experience. And you know, I've always worked along something I learned at the very beginning of my career, which is that we can design an environment. The hotel will provide the service, and it's environment and service equals experience. If you get those two right, people will be happy.
And just really quickly before we run out of time, but is Zanzibar on the green list? Just asking for a friend in case someone wants to book a flight to your that lovely hotel with that lovely wellness offering.
Well, until recently, the Tanzanian people didn't believe that, or the president didn't believe that COVID existed. So it's a bit of a murky area.
Each their own, each their own. And finally, Naomi, you can end us off, but someone who's just gone through the process of their branding, of rebranding, trust me, I know the pain of that. Can you tell us a little bit more quickly about how lifestyle brands can stand out from the crowd?
Lifestyle brands have to stand out from the crowd by really understanding their target audience and what their target audience wants. If you can't work that out and then reflect it through your spaces, the design of your spaces, your offerings, your messaging, you will not stand out from the crowd. You have to, lifestyle is not a magic bullet. It's not a panacea. You can't just create a lifestyle hotel. A lifestyle hotel has to know and understand the lifestyle that their guests want to be part of, and everything that James and David have said in terms of aspirations are well coined, and I would agree with everything. But the point is, who is your target audience? What do they want? And are you providing that both in the physical environment and in everything that you communicate, and all the touch points that they have in the virtual world as well as the real world? Absolutely. I think those are the most important things.
Well, thank you all so much. I've really enjoyed this session. Thank you so much, James Dilley, David Mason and Naomi Heaton. It's been a real pleasure. That's all we've got time for. I just want to end quickly by saying thank you to our Product Watch pitch partners, which are Hamilton Lightstad, Mosaico, Betty, Atlas Concord and Hansgrohe. We'll be back at 11 o'clock. Katie Phillips has shared the link in the session. Quickly click onto that because the link's just about to expire, where we'll be joined by Gabrielle Chai from Marcel Wonder Studio, Nick Hickson from THDP, and Christos Passas, Director at Zaha Hadid Architects, for a session entitled Bathrooms Beyond Practical Spaces. That's it for now. See you later.